So the next hormone you need a brief understanding of, you don't need to be an expert and a biochemist on this, is insulin. Because on Instagram, on social media, you hear everything about insulin being sometimes the devil, the fat storage hormone, and you can get very, very, very confused about it. So let's just look at it simply in terms of what you will need to know. So insulin helps you manage your blood levels of glucose in simple terms. Okay, so we don't want blood glucose to drop too low, or we don't want it to go too high. So we if we are functioning well, we manage that insulin secretion, which then manages the blood glucose levels. Okay, in its very simplest terms. Okay, so what we want to do is manage it so we secrete the right amounts of insulin to keep blood glucose at the right levels. When we have a poor diet, excess sugars, high carbohydrate levels, lack of activity, low muscle mass levels, over prolonged periods, we end up sometimes becoming pre-diabetic and eventually insulin dependent diabetic as well. So managing insulin is critical. So things you need to consider here is have a high protein diet. Carbohydrates aren't the devil, but sugar intake, yes, should be managed. Okay, so simple sugars, there's nothing wrong with them, but if you're having too much too often, like I say in a lot of the videos, the devil is in the dosage. So exercise, we want to build up lean tissue, because if we can store more glycogen, having more muscle, and we are then more active with that muscle at a higher proportion, it helps us manage our blood sugar. Okay, I've seen people who've been on the verge of being on insulin that just through managing diet, increasing activity, and increasing lean muscle tissue, this has all been reversed. And I've seen it time and time again in 26 years of coaching in this industry. So, if we can lift weights, we can move more, we can have a balanced diet with high protein, good amounts of fiber, and manage those sugars that we ingest, that is kind of the simple way of managing your insulin levels. Because over secretion of insulin, lack of activity, can cause us to partition things into fat cells, not muscle cells. We don't want that. So what we want to do is move more, have more muscle tissue, have a higher proportion of protein in the diet, increase the fiber in the diet, and just watch the sugar intake. Okay, keep it simple. You don't need to overcomplicate certain things. The basics work and the basics matter, and if you employ them consistently, that will help you manage your insulin levels. Okay, hope that makes sense.